Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and what I want to talk about today is just, making fetch requests and using making fetch requests beyond get. So post, delete, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of this folder, and I'm just going to create a new file, and just created a call it practice.html. I'm going to do something a little bit different than I usually do here. I'm not going to just do a whole setup. Just do some boilerplate here and literally just put JavaScript here in the script tag. Okay. Just so I can access the browser terminal. So open with live server. Control Shift I. Let's go back to JSON placeholder as well. So again, fetch is the built-in way of doing API calls in JavaScript, okay? And usually it's pretty straightforward, okay? So the way this works is you take a URL that you want to make an API call to, and I would just do fetch, put in the URL here, and by default, fetch is going to do a GET request. So for normal just getting information, it's just simple as this. Then you have to chain what's called a .then on it, and what the .then does, it allows you it waits for you to finish getting that information and says, hey, when that information is retrieved, do this. So usually what you do is you do response.json. What this just does, it just takes the response from the fetch and turns it into JSON. To make sure you put parentheses to invoke that. Then you have to do another .then because technically the data is not usable till after that first .then. So you're taking the response from that first .then, which I'm going to call data. You can call it whatever you want, and then you can actually do stuff with it. Okay, and then anything you want to do with the data, you would put in this second set of curly brackets. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to console.log the data. Okay. And if I go back to over here, back to the console, you can see it works. The data got console logged. Cool. Where things get a little bit more complicated is making like other types of requests. So let's say I wanted to like create a resource here. Okay. Cool. So watch, let's do this. Okay, so again, it's title, body, user ID. Those are the three variables in this JSON placeholder thing. Okay. JSON. Okay. So again, take a look at but let's just start building it out. So I'm gonna leave that up there. And do fetch. First thing we have to do is pass in the URL for this endpoint, so that's going to be this. Posts. And then you're going to have to, then after that, as a second argument, you pass in an object with different configurations. So we have to tell it what method you want to make. So you no longer want to make a GET request, you want to make a POST request. Then you want to submit headers. Headers are like, kind of like, think about getting a letter. You're getting a letter, you're sending a request. The letter, like the header has like the return address, all this stuff. So it's just other information that needs to be sent over, okay, that servers expect. So the headers property is actually an object in itself with individual different headers. Most of the time you only need to add one particular header, and that is content type. Content type basically tells the server you're sending it to what kind of data you're sending. Okay. So we're sending JSON data, so it's application JSON. Now, I'm just going to do that, even though they specified char set UTF-8, so they just want to do that. Also specify the character set, but I think we should be fine just with application JSON. 90% of the time you are. Okay, I've never really had to do that before, so let's just try it without. And the other main piece you need to include is the body. Think of this as the body of the letter you're sending. So this is like the header of the letter you're sending. This is the body of the letter you're sending. But you need to send it as a JSON string. So you have to do JSON.stringify. And then you submit the object that you're stringifying. So title, hello, comma, body, is it me you're looking for, and then comma, ID, which will say 3. Make sure that syntactically that's all. It's user ID. So you want to always double check the property names. User ID. And then, yep. And then after that, you do the same thing. Dot then response equals response.json. Dot then data equals console.log data. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, and there we go. We see that it got created. Okay, so see, it created a thing. And really, it's the same thing if you're talking about delete or put. You just have to change the method. Again, whenever you're sending JSON data, so for like a put or a post where you're either creating or updating, you're sending data, so you just got to make sure you send the body like this with a header that says this. Like if it's a delete request where you're just deleting, you probably don't even need all this. You just need the method. So that way it specifies it's delete request and probably has a URL param. But yeah, that's essentially it. You know, sometimes you'll have like you'll be using like Json Web Tokens, so you'll have to do like an authorization header. And basically the way that works is you would just do this, and then usually what would happen is you have a variable that holds your token, and you would just do like bearer space token, and then you would just put the token in there, so that would be inside the header. But that's getting ahead of myself. And you can also create your own. If you're creating your own server, you can create your own custom headers that it looks for. It's just another place to send information. So you got the body, you got the headers, you got the method, and again you got the root URL. There's other things you can do inside the fetch config object, but those are the main things you need to function. So my name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day and enjoy.